When you think of Chainsaw Man, what comes to mind? Non-stop violence, breathtaking citywide action, and sheer unimaginable insanity. From the mind of Tatsuki Fujimoto, a man as deranged as his own manga, role-playing as a girl on Twitter or randomly going on tangents about eating his own pet goldfish, a manga such as Chainsaw Man could only come from a mind like this. And Chainsaw Man was the accumulation of his work. Countless years of insanity poured into visual media for audiences to consume. Like a lobotomy to the brain, Chainsaw Man Part 1 went straight into the action, blasting audiences with non-stop events in such rapid succession that one of the biggest critiques is how it's too fast-paced. So of course, it would come as a surprise to me that Chainsaw Man Part 2 would seem so slow, so boring, so methodical and uninteresting, or so I've heard from my fellow weekly manga readers. So why was Chainsaw Man Part 2 so utterly boring? Well, for starters, 1 second. Let's see. Why was Chainsaw Man Part 2 boring? Do I really have nothing here? I swear I wrote this in the script. Well, I just have to do a quick reread and collect some points. Yeah, reading this weekly, I remember it being boring, so surely. Huh? What? Why is this so well put together? This is 100 times better than I remember it being. Was the story always this good? Yep, always was, always has been. Lately, I've noticed a bit of a phenomenon, or a pattern so to speak. That is, weekly anime watchers or manga readers always seem to be extreme pessimists who have nothing good to say about the media they're consuming. They always have a list of complaints about how the series is 10 times worse than it actually is, and how the author's writing is hot garbage. Then you compare this to those who have binged the series when a good amount of content has come out, and if they read the full way, then they'll typically love it much more. I've seen this happen on countless occasions. The segment at the beginning of this video was based on a sentiment I heard repeatedly echoed within the Chainsaw Man community, that Part 2 was a boring slog with no direction and no interesting events. On the opposite side, however, those who were catching up appreciated how the events lined up and were thoroughly engaged with the story. I personally decided to read the entirety of Part 2, and the sheer quality behind the storytelling and Fujimoto's writing blew me away. Another example of this, or a community where I see this happen, is the Jujutsu Kaisen community. On the side of the anime, a lot of people who watch it weekly seem to hold the opinion that the Shibi arc was nothing more than a gauntlet of pointless fights, while the exact same sentiment is echoed on the side of the manga for the Culling games. Those who read each chapter or episode in succession, though, are capable of appreciating the character growth, themes, and stories that Gege is trying to achieve with each interaction or in each battle. Hell, I've even seen My Hero Academia fans slam the war arc, both new and old, for being terrible and devoid of substance, despite the constant sensational art and storytelling that Hirokoshi puts out every week. And comparatively, those who read it in one burst are capable of seeing the sheer value of his work. Anyway, the general trend is obvious, and maybe a bit self-explanatory to be honest. People who tend to binge stories are capable of seeing the narrative from a greater point of view of closely interconnected events, while those who get, say, 15, maybe 18 pages per week tend not to appreciate their work as much. The point is this: stop reading weekly manga and stop watching weekly anime. It is depriving you of your ability to truly appreciate stories. Kidding, cause you're not gonna do that and neither am I, for a brief couple of reasons. First and foremost, within recent years especially, avoiding major spoilers has essentially become impossible. You genuinely can't visit any social media, be it Instagram, Discord, or Twitter, without being blasted with spoilers from whatever community you're in that you never asked for. The moment Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 236 dropped, you know the one, spoilers for it covered every single social media, and the fact that that character died became a meme in of itself, despite representing one of the story's biggest turning points. At this point, I'm dead sure the moment that something like the One Piece is revealed, everyone across the entire internet will immediately know what it is, regardless of whether or not they even watch One Piece. Hell, I even accidentally spoiled Jujutsu Kaisen in my last Kagurabachi video without even realizing it when I tried to get a meme. Another big element is the fear of missing out. If you're part of a community that enjoys anime or manga, then you have to tune in every week, either for the new episode or new chapter, because if you don't, other people will, and it's inevitable discussions will revolve around it. If you don't buckle and just go consume the series' newest releases, at best you'll be out of the conversation, and at worst you'll have to sit there and watch as spoiled content gets blasted into your face. So if your general sentiment was, fair point, but I'm still going to read/watch weekly, then fair enough, I get your point. But what you should at least do is reread, because I promise you, the series will be 10 times better than it already was. A lot of critiques I see for series nowadays come from a general lack of patience for storytelling. I feel like this trend is best represented with anime like Rereading and Vinland Saga, slow-paced stories that build to bigger events. But because the wider community has gotten so used to non-stop explosions, actions, and climaxes, a lot of people have grown incapable of waiting for deserved narrative satisfaction, which typically feels a lot deeper and leaves you with a lot more than today's weekly explosion. That's why people go away from something like Rereading saying it's changed their life, while no one would walk away from the newest episode of Solo Leveling saying they gained something from that except pure entertainment. There are so many critiques based on this. Buzzwords thrown around simply for an inability to wait for what the author is obviously leading to. In the context of a binge read, this issue hardly prevails, but with a short 15 to 18 chapters per week, some people genuinely start tweaking. The story is so boring. The story is slow right now because the author is building up to something larger. This character is a horrible person. That's the point. The author is going to flesh them out more in the future. It's part of their development. None of what's going on in the story makes sense. The author has a mystery they have established and are going to solve it. The author clearly forgot about this. No, they haven't, they're simply saving that plot point for a big reveal. A terrifyingly large number of people aren't even pointing out real issues. They're simply taking their impatience as a problem with the series. The point is, reading a story in one sitting allows you to understand the author's intent a lot more than spaced viewing does, and get their writing at the pace a proper reader-viewer should. Weekly readers are forced to wait in between big events, while normal readers can read based on how much the current part of the series excites them. If something cool is happening in the story, they can consume all the content in one go and then drop it when it gets boring again, while others have to wait entire weeks to get extremely small bits of content. I should mention that the episodic format of anime is a lot better than a single chapter of manga each week, and weekly anime watching is probably mostly fine, but this issue seems to hurt manga the most, cause it takes like 3 minutes max to read through a chapter. So if there's a series you're super critical of, or something you feel just wasn't right, give it a reread, chapter by chapter, episode by episode, and I assure you, you'll start seeing plot points and interesting and enjoyable writing that you never knew was present before. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to become a member of the channel. Regardless, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.